Good afternoon and welcome. This is COVID-19 update on MITV. I am Tomi Singudu. I start out this evening with the news from the local scene, and I'm starting out with Nigeria. In Nigeria, the Humanitarian Affairs is focusing on satisfying about 25 orphanage homes in the Federal Capital Territory. The 25 homes yesterday, received 500 bags of rice and other food items as relief materials to cushion the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. The coronavirus ravaging the entire world has presented an unprecedented humanitarian and economic and human crisis that has required all hands to be on deck to help the vulnerable navigate the crisis. This was contained in the speech of the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Haja Sadiya Umar Farouk, who presented the materials to the orphanages in Abuja. The orphanages present were at the venue of the distribution include the Anna Wing Homes, Forest of the Poor, Gwagalada, Holy Family Sisters of the Needy, Halal Lube, Al Ansar Home, Kuje, and St. Mary's Home for Orphans, Gwagalada. Farouk said the ministry identified through consultation with homes, NGOs and CSOs 25 orphanages which will be impacted by the intervention. She explained that the exercise was a flag off because they will be extending the solidarity and support to other orphanages across the country. The Jamaatul Nasril Islam (GNI) has advised Nigerian Muslims to say their Eid prayers at home with their families or alone if there is no family member to join them. The Eid al-Fitr prayer is said by Muslims to mark the end of the Ramadan fast. It's expected to be held on Saturday or Sunday across Nigeria, depending on the day the Ramadan fast ends. The prayer is usually held on open grounds and attended by thousands of Muslims in each community. Millions of Nigerian Muslims have expressed concern about this year's Eid amidst the coronavirus pandemic, and the federal government have banned large gatherings, including for religious purposes, to check the spread of the virus. Some state governments, such as those of Bauchi and Kano, however, relaxed the ban to allow the Eid prayers to hold. For such states, the GNI, led by the Sultan of Sokoto, Saad Abubakar, also gave warnings on the conduct of those to attend such prayers. And following the affirmation by the police that health workers are exempted from the 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew, the Lagos State branch of the Nigerian Medical Association on Thursday reversed the sit-at-home strike, which it earlier embarked upon at 6 p.m. on Wednesday. The sit-at-home directive was a response to the arrest of health workers by officers of the Lagos State Police Command for defying the curfew, despite the exemption from the curfew as essential workers. The police in Lagos Tuesday night arrested several essential workers, including medical doctors, journalists, bankers, and others, stating that they were not exempted from the curfew. This infuriated the Doctors' Union, which called for the sit-at-home protest on Wednesday. While given the notice of the sit-at-home strike, the leadership of the Lagos NMA said the strike will be effective until the conflicting directives by the state government and the law enforcement agents on the status of essential workers is resolved. Meanwhile, on Wednesday evening, the police hierarchy notified its officers about essential service providers, including doctors, who were exempted from the curfew. And from the foreign scene, a trial to see whether 2 anti-malaria drugs could prevent COVID-19 has begun in Brighton and Oxford. Chloroquine and hydroxychloroquine, or a placebo, will be given to more than 40,000 health workers from Europe, Africa, Asia, and South America. All the participants and staff who are in contact with COVID-19 patients. U.S. President Donald Trump was criticized this week after he said he had been taking hydroxychloroquine despite warnings it might be unsafe. The first UK participants in the global trial have been enrolled on Thursday at the Brighton and Sussex University Hospitals and the John Radcliffe Hospital in Oxford. They will be given either hydroxychloroquine or a placebo for 3 months. At sites in Asia, participants will be given chloroquine or a placebo. These are the first of a planned 25 UK sites, with results expected by the end of the year. And back here in Africa, Madagascar, a drink made from a bright green fern-like plant is being promoted in African countries as the go-to cure for COVID-19. But detractors with undisguised scorn dismiss claims for the concussion as at best unless a worst dangerous. Madagascar President Andry Rajoelina is the promoter-in-chief of the substance marketed as COVID Organics and sold in form of a herbal infusion. Asserting that the Madagascar brew has the potential to change history, Rajoelina has widely distributed it in his Indian Ocean island nation and exported it to many parts of Africa. The East African countries of Tanzania and Comoros are among the enthusiastic customers, as well as Guinea-Bissau and Equatorial Guinea on the Atlantic coast. Guinea-Bissau President Umaru Sissoco Embalo made a point of personally taking delivery of his country's COVID organics order at the airport. That's it on the news and COVID-19 update. We take this quick break. When we come back, we're looking at COVID-19 across the world in numbers. Welcome back to COVID-19 update. From the global scene, total number of coronavirus cases is at 5,138,417. That is the report as at 1740 GMT today. 331,649 deaths have been recorded worldwide, while over 2 million people. Earlier today, we have just about 1,998,000 people that are recovered, but as of now, 2,049,912 people have recovered completely from COVID-19. And that makes me exceedingly glad right now that we can say for a fact that the number of recovered patients of COVID-19 seems to be increasing on a very fast speed. Earlier, I think we had 1,998,000 people who had recovered, and we're still talking about having about a little bit short of 2,000 people to make the 2 million mark. But as of now, we have recorded well over 50,000 people within the hour of one day that have recovered from COVID-19, and that for me is good news. The total number of active cases across the world from COVID-19 has risen to 2,756,909 people. Only 2% of that number is critical. About 45,000 people are critical, and you have 98% of that number in mild condition, and that total number is 2.711 million people who are recovering gradually and whose condition is mild. Taking a look at the top 10 countries across the world, we'll start out with the top 10. The United States are topping the number of highest number of cases across the world. Let's look at the top 10 with the highest number of cases. The United States, of course, tops that list. Russia is number 2. Brazil is number 3. Spain takes number 4 position. UK takes number 5. Italy takes number 6. France takes number 7. Germany at number 8. Turkey at number 9. And Iran at number 10. Now, the total number of cases for the United States totally as of today is 1,602,193. Russia has 317,554. Brazil 296,033, Spain 279,524, UK 250,908, Italy 228,006, France 181,575, Germany 178,864, Turkey 153,548, and Iran 129,341 confirmed cases of COVID-19. The interesting thing about this top 10 list is the fact that countries like Iran in the last couple of weeks have steadily climbed the ladder. They were at number 9 at a point and has dropped to number 10. Brazil was not even in the top 10 about 2 weeks ago, but in the last 1 week, Brazil has steadily climbed up from number 10 to number 9 to number 7, and finally now Brazil is the third country across the world with the highest number of COVID-19 cases. Now, when it comes to records of recovery across board, when it comes to recovery across board, the country with the most recovered cases is still the country that everyone knows. That's Germany. Germany has almost 90% of the total number of cases completely recovered. At 158,000 people have totally recovered from COVID-19, and they have just about 12,591 people still in isolation. So taking the number of top 10 in terms of recovery rate, we have Germany at number 1, we have Spain at number 2, we have the United States at number 3, we have Brazil at number 6, we have Turkey at number 4, we have Iran at number 5, we have France at number 8, we have Italy at number 7, and of course the United Kingdom has not been able to ascertain for a fact how many people are still in their various isolation centers or across their homes, because they have people both isolating at home and isolating, of course, being treated in the various hospitals across the country. So but the United Kingdom has not been able to ascertain who is active and who has recovered. So the number of cases can be confirmed, but the number of recoveries or the number of recovered patients cannot be ascertained as at now, which takes me to France. France is one country that has been doing steadily, slowly in terms of recovery, but Italy strangely has been doing really well. Spain has been doing really well. So taking the countries again, you have Germany at number 1, you have Spain at number 2, you have France at Italy at number 3, you have Turkey at number 4, you have Iran at number 5, and we can take that number and go straight to Brazil at number 6, you have the United States at number 7, Russia at number 8, France at number 9, and of course we have a country like India at number 10. Now, taking a look at these countries, India fell into that list because, as I said again, the United Kingdom has not been on that list, because the United Kingdom, though they're number 5 across the world in terms of cases of COVID-19, do not have a definite number of those who are still active or those who have recovered. Now let's take a look at those who are testing the most across the world. The test they said has been very, very important in measuring the response of a country to COVID-19. Now, if you're testing more, you're likely to find out more cases, and as a result, you may quickly recover from the pandemic, faster than other people. Now, the total number of tests that has been taken, of course, the United States that has about 1,600,000 people who have COVID-19 means that they've tested well over 10 million people. So the United States tops the list with 13 million tests. 30,184,207 tests is what the United States has conducted as at today. Now, the next country there that has tested a lot of people happens to be Germany. Germany is the one with the highest recovery rate across the world, apart from China, of course, that has recovered, a long time ago because they got the disease first. And Germany has tested 3,595,000 people. Number 3 on that list of highest number of tests conducted is Italy. Italy has also tested over 3 million, but 3.2 million is what they've tested. Number 4 on that list is the UK. The UK, despite the slow response to getting the facts and figures of active and recovered patients, has also tested quite a number of people. They've actually tested 3.90 million people. That's 3,090,000 people. You have a country like Spain is also doing quite well. Spain has tested 3,037,000 people. Interesting to note also is the fact that a country like Russia, obviously, that has been looked down upon Russia steadily in the last couple of weeks has risen as well from number 8 and gradually has gotten to number 2 across the world. As far as Asia is concerned, that country seems to be the one that has overtaken everybody else. So Russia has the highest number of cases in that axis now at over 300,000 cases. And interestingly, they've actually tested about 7 million people. So they actually occupy number 2 in the world of the number of tests that has been conducted. Now, taking a look at Africa, another thing that we need to note is that Africa seems to be very slow in testing, very slow in the number of cases. This has given a lot of worry to countries, to, of course, bodies like the WHO, the United Nations. Of course, they're thinking that by now Africa should be screaming out some very high numbers. Fortunately for us, the numbers are still very low, and I've said maybe one of the reasons why we are having those low numbers may not necessarily mean because of antibodies or because of the lockdown measures that have been put in place across the continent, but could possibly be as a result of the low testing that has also not been observed. Testing capacity in Africa can be said to be on a very slow run. The highest number of cases in Africa has always been with South Africa. The number is rising, and South Africa has recorded 19,137 cases as at today. Now, South Africa is also the country with the highest number of tests conducted across Africa. They've conducted 525,433 tests as at today, which brings us to the fact that Africa seems to be catching up in terms of testing, because apparently a country like South Africa has tested more than even a country that is on the top list. Number 2 on that list in Africa is Egypt. Egypt is still number 2 and has 14,229 confirmed cases of COVID-19. Now, interesting part about Egypt is that Egypt has also tested over 100,000 people. 135,000 people is what Egypt has tested as at today. They've also recorded one of the highest number of deaths across Africa at 680 deaths that have been recorded so far. Now, number 3 in Africa with the highest number of cases is Algeria. 7,728 cases is what Algeria has reported as at today. Algeria, coincidentally, cannot ascertain the number of tests that they've conducted, but they have also recorded 575 deaths as at today. Of the total number that they have in Algeria, about 60% are recovered and about 40% is still in isolation. Morocco takes number 4 position in Africa with 7,211 confirmed cases of COVID-19, and 196 deaths is what they've recorded in Morocco. Interestingly, Morocco has also tested 112,997 people for COVID-19. Nigeria has quickly risen to number 5 above Ghana once again. Nigeria has recorded 6,677 cases of COVID-19. We have recorded 200 deaths, and we have been able to discharge 1,840 people. We still have 4,637 people in our different isolation centers, and as of today we have only conducted 38,231 tests. Which brings me to the last 5 on the list across the world. And interestingly, this last 5, we have Lesotho at number 1. Only 1 case of COVID-19 has been recorded, and that 1 case is still very much active till date. Now, that case has been recorded for close to 2 months now, and nothing has changed about that particular case. Another low one in Africa comes with Namibia. Namibia has recorded about 18 cases. They've recorded no death. They've been able to discharge 14. 4 are still very much active. Another low number in Africa is Gambia. Gambia has recorded 24 cases, no death. They have discharged 13. They have 10 that are still very much active. Botswana takes the list 4, and you have 29 is the number of cases they've recorded. They've recorded 1 death of that 29. They have 17 as recovered and 11 are still active. And the last is Comoros. Comoros has recorded 34 confirmed cases of COVID-19. They've recorded 1 death. they've been able to discharge 8, and 25 are still very much active. That's it on the global update of COVID-19. We've given you the numbers as we have it across the world. Who is recovering more? Who has tested the most? And of course, who is recording the most cases across the world? Let's take another break. When we come back this time, we're looking at latest stories across Nigeria when it has to do with COVID-19. Yes, welcome back to the COVID-19 update. Taking a look at some of the stories across the world. I start out with this one from the Presidential Task Force briefing that took place just about an hour and a half ago. Some of the highlights of that briefing, President Muhammadu Buhari signed some of the amendment to the executive order and voluntary asset regularization scheme. And as part of some of the things to do, we have seen that the use of face masks should be part of the Salah attire this year. That's what the PTF National Coordinator affirmed at the meeting today. That's Dr. Sani Aliyu. The PTF National Coordinator also gave an update on how the banks and businesses should operate as the lockdown continues to be eased across the country, and is particularly saying that interstate travel is prohibited except for essential services. Now, people have taken that to the next level by all kinds of people claiming to be journalists, and that is an indictment, because if you are not a properly labeled or with a registered company, you cannot claim to be a journalist. And that, I think, has been responsible for some of the clampdown that the original and the regional journalists are now facing, because some of the issues that we're having is the conflicting statement from both the Lagos State government and of course from the Commissioner of Police himself when it comes to the security agents, when it comes to the issue of who should be allowed to move during the curfew, which of course brought about some of our bosses here, both GMs in MITV here were delayed for a number of hours due to that particular mix-up that happened. We're quite glad that it's been clarified, but all those things need to be tidied up so that those who need to be outside will be outside, and those who need not be outside will definitely not be outside. But still taking some of the highlights of that briefing from the Presidential Task Force today. You can actually transmit the virus, while you're feeling completely well. That's what the DG of NCDC, Chike Ihekwezu, actually said they wanted enough people to minimize transmission. Therefore, they have institutionalized treatment of patients. So far, it says the PTF is thinking of alternatives to state-operated isolation centers, which brings us to the idea of the Lagos State government today thinking that mild cases of COVID-19 may likely be isolated at home rather than taking them to the isolation centers, which means that those who would then be taken to the isolation centers will be those who are in critical condition. Now, the Minister of Health, Osage Hanire, says that the harassment of doctors in Lagos at the security checkpoint is already being addressed, and they have increased the tracing, the surveillance, and the isolation capacities. And he has said that there is a ravage upon our land that's coming from the chairman of the Presidential Task Force, Mustafa, saying that people he knows who have lost their lives to COVID-19, and is therefore warning against self-medication of all sorts. Now, at the beginning of the COVID-19 epidemic in Nigeria, we began a lot of campaign right here in MITV as well, talking about stopping people from self-medicating as much as possible. Forget what is happening across the world and people saying they are presidents, or some presidents saying they are already testing some drugs. All those things should be done under clinical observation, not personal choice. So you must not self-medicate simply because you know that they are mentioning certain drugs, because you're not sure how those drugs will work on your system. COVID-19 is not like the regular malaria that we treat, or the regular fever or headache that we treat from time to time, thinking that it's just normal. As it were, the Presidential Task Force, has confirmed that COVID-19 is a serious matter that everyone must take cognizance of, that everyone must pay a lot of attention to. And that brings us back to the use of face mask and the proper way to wear your face mask. Now, if you notice that at the task force briefing, everyone that had to speak there had on a face mask. Now, they're looking at a situation where even the people who sell food at the restaurants will also wear a face mask. People who will have to be present in the briefing will also wear a face mask, so that you're using the face mask to protect yourself, thereby protecting every other person that is around you as well. This is important to ensure that peradventure you are not infected. You can also protect yourself because you're not sure of the status of the person that will be in your immediate environment. Now, one of the things that has also happened, coming back to Lagos State, at the Lagos State briefing earlier today, the Lagos State Examination Board has also announced the postponement of the year 2020 screening test into Lagos State model colleges and upgraded junior secondary schools, scheduled to commence on the 25th to 30th of May until further notice. Now, the director said that the new date for the conduct of the examination will be communicated, as soon as the situation improves and approvals are obtained from the appropriate authorities. Meanwhile, registration is still ongoing for interested candidates via the digital platform, stressing that further inquiries can be made by contacting the board through any of the phone numbers that is made available on their website. You can check out their Twitter handle for some of these updates as well. Now, the Lagos State Ministry of Physical Planning and Urban Development has sealed 20 buildings as well in the Sharing North GRA due to the inability of the owners to produce approved planning permit on demand as stipulated in the guidelines issued by the government. Now, this shows the Lagos State government is doing business as usual, and as far as they're concerned, COVID-19 or not, work has started in Lagos and work has commenced. But I almost had this one from Professor Akin Abayomi, who is the Commissioner for Health in Lagos. He has stated that we must be careful as Lagos has not yet gotten to the peak yet. Don't forget that just yesterday, Lagos State recorded 199 of the 284 cases that were discovered in Nigeria overnight. So in 24 hours, Lagos State had 199 of 284 cases. Now, the other 85 cases were shared within some other states. We have about 12 states share the other 85 cases, while Lagos State alone took a chunk of 199. And Professor Akin Abayomi is quickly calling up caution and cautioning people as Lagos has not yet hit the highest number there, which means caution is much more important at a critical time like this. Now, this brings the total to saying that as far as we are concerned, we must continue with the national response, which is use of hand sanitizers and face mask wherever you find yourself. Now, the PTF chairman was also said that reinforcing the adherence to the recommended measures to prevent the spread of COVID-19. So despite the fact that so many people are saying that they may open up the worship centers for the Ramadan celebrations, is still enforcing the fact that the use of the face mask must be observed and no gathering must be more than 20 at a critical time like this, while also ensuring that people would adhere to staying at home instead of actually going out to do anything. Now, 80% of the COVID-19 cases in Nigeria show mild or no symptoms at all, and these cases won't be in the isolation facilities under normal circumstances. Asymptomatic patients are primarily isolated to prevent transmission of the virus, especially to their loved ones. And that brings us to the issue of many people complaining that even though they didn't feel sick, they were kept in the isolation center for quite a number of days. Now, the reason they are kept there is simply because they needed to be safe, so that their own loved ones who may not be asymptomatic if they catch it, who may have weaker immune system, will be safe. So they take them out of their rooms to the isolation center, and that is basically about 80% of the total number of COVID-19 cases we have in Nigeria, which brings us to the idea of wanting to isolate some people at home in order to decongest the isolation centers and of course keep the space for those who are in critical condition. As we begin to post on the COVID-19 update for this evening, regular hand washing is very important to reduce the risk of spreading COVID-19. And an important moment to wash your hands is after handling money, especially if you're handling it and you want to eat food. Anything that takes your hand to your mouth, your eyes, or your nose. That's your men, for mouth, air for the eye, and nose, and for the nose. So anything that takes your hand to your man, is very, very important, must be washed, not sanitized, washed with soap and water under running water for 20 to 40 seconds. Now, you continue to wash properly between your fingers, your hands, your wrists, your fingertips. Make sure you wash properly and rinse properly under running water. Then you swing and you make sure you pat dry and throw the patting material, whether it's going to be a disposable tissue, away. It's very important for your own health, for your own safety, that you do not put any unwashed hand on your face, especially because of your your mouth, your eyes, and your nose. That is the best way to prevent yourself from catching or spreading COVID-19. My name is Tomi Siojo. We'll bring you more on COVID-19 update tomorrow. Hopefully we'll be looking at the effect of COVID-19 on some of the industries and of course what it will mean if we open up the economy full time. Have a wonderful evening. Bye for now.